Well, it's that time of year. It's the holiday season. For many of us, it's the celebration of Christmas. For others of us, it's perhaps Hanukkah or Kwanzaa or perhaps other holidays I don't even know about. Um, and it's a time of year when we can find ourselves coming together with others and making connections. And it can also be a time of year when some of those connections are no longer there. And for folks at this time, it can be a challenging time of year. I want to remind you at the beginning of this, as I always do, that you are infinitely precious and unconditionally loved as the gift you already are. And you're also unconditionally loved, infinitely precious, for whatever state of mind and whatever feelings this season brings to you. I was thinking this morning of the song from Les Miserables that Marius sings after the death of his friends, empty chairs and empty tables. There's a grief that can't be spoken. And this is the season where people seem least tolerant of hearing that this is a time of year that you struggle. And that's kind of sad, because this is meant to be a season where we embrace one another and encourage one another and feel loving toward one another. We often argue about things that don't matter, whether we say Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays. For me, they just don't matter what you say if you're encouraging and uplifting the other. But for some of us, Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays is not true. The merry or the happy is not there. There's a kind of sadness and a heaviness to this season, because there are empty chairs where our friends, our family, people we loved used to be and aren't anymore. And it weighs upon us and it feels heavy. I want to say to you, you are not alone. And I can say that from a much more personal place this year than I have probably ever said it before. Just this past Sunday morning, a very good friend of mine at 6:30 a.m. died after having a massive stroke on Thursday afternoon. And so I had been with him on Saturday in the hospital. He had lost his speech, his ability to speak, but he had waited for me to come to his bedside. He gripped my hand, he looked me in the eye, and he only had use of one hand, so that same hand he took out of my hand and he patted me on the back, patted me on the side, and then took my hand again as I sat with him for a while. But it's very fresh to me, this sadness that can come on you at this time of year, this time when everybody else is singing jingle bells and joy to the world, and what child is this? And they're singing it at the top of their lungs, and they're smiling, and they're portraying this beautiful image of a warm, cozy, happy time. And for some of us, it just doesn't feel that way. It just doesn't feel that way. There is sadness, there is grief. For some people, even the death of a person years ago, what is interesting to me is, as I encouraged people and talked to people this season, there were any number of people that shared with me, strangers to me at the time who shared with me stories of children who had died first before them, and that was just wrong. Parents who were no longer with them in the celebration of the season. All of those pieces, for many folks this season, is a reminder of who's not here. So I want you to know that if this is a heavy season, a sad season, a grieving season for you, you're not alone, and it's perfectly okay for you to be in that place. You need to know that it's okay for you to be sad in a season where everybody else is happy, happy, joy, joy. And for those of you for whom this season is happy, happy, joy, joy, merry, and filled with happiness, just be mindful that not everyone you meet is going to be in that same place as you. And as I've seen over, and I'm sure many of you have seen as well, expressed in a variety of different ways, we simply don't know when we encounter someone what struggles, what battles they are fighting within, what pain and sadness they might carry. So I want to encourage you, if you are sad this season, to seek out some other folks who would hear you out, who would recognize in your sadness a bit of their own. And for those of you for whom this season is just a joyful time and you're happy and merry this year, to perhaps just be on the lookout for the neighbor that you will encounter, the one who is just as infinitely precious and unconditionally loved as you are, who is just as much a gift as you are. When you encounter those who are in the midst of struggle, sadness, who don't currently share your joy, that you would try to be a comforting presence and an encouraging presence, and that you would just do your best to be loving, and to recognize that for some it is a blue Christmas. It is a blue Christmas. So for all of you who are struggling, hang in there and struggle on. You are not alone. Face the challenges as best you can and seek help from others when you are struggling in the midst of it. And for those of you for whom this season is joyful, I encourage you to find the joy in your season. And at the same time, be mindful of those around you. So all the best in this week leading up to the season, to the beginning of the Christmas season on Sunday, the 12 days of Christmas. As we get closer, look out for each other, love one another, be good neighbors, and all the best.